Relationship precedes learning. It's not a catchphrase. It's the way to make a difference. Be intentional, be kind, and be empathetic. This is one of 14 pearls of wisdom from my guest today. Emily Parrish is a teacher of many years, over 20. I can't wait for you to meet her, and not only for her teaching abilities and her wisdom, but also because she's been my best friend for over 35 years. I'm Hillary Baggett, host of Hill Talks Midlife, and as an occupational therapist turned entrepreneur after 50, I am on a mission to support women to know that no matter what is going on in your body, mind, spirit, or business, that you can go for it. And you can know that you're not alone. And that's why we created the Women's Midlife Network. Hey, have you ever read something on Facebook and you just knew you had to share it? Well, these tidbits came from a fantastic woman, mother, wife, daughter, sister, friend, who's not only a lifelong learner, she's a lifelong educator. In fact, she comes from a family of educators and administrators. She was even taught in school by her own mother, and both of her sisters are educators as well. In fact, at one point, her mother and Emily and her husband all taught at the same school. When I asked her if she would be a guest on the show, she said yes, and we recorded this within 48 hours. And now these pearls of wisdom, they not only apply to new teachers, they really apply to all of us as humans. Bottom line, it's all about love, but you'll want to listen to all of them. My guest today, I am just beyond thrilled to welcome Emily Parrish. And she is probably my longest friend of my life. So it's really a privilege to get to talk to her about her passion for being an educator. And she comes from a long line of educators. And actually, I'm a little teary-eyed, like introducing of realizing that we've known each other for over 35 years.
Yes.
It's pretty wild, but what a gift to welcome you. And Emily, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me, Hill. I'm very honored to be here.
And Emily was very brave. I'm going to brag on her for a second because I read this post that she posted on Facebook just 2 days ago. And I said, man, I'd love to have you on the podcast to talk about it. And she said, hey, I'm willing. And I thought, really? And she's made it happen just this fast. But it's important because we're talking about preparing for back to school. We're talking about mindset. We're talking about people making decisions. One of my last episodes was on what's stopping you, like what holds you back from moving forward or pursuing that dream. And Emily, with her history as an educator, has so much wisdom and advice. And so I asked her to be willing to come on and talk about some of her greatest wisdom tips and what she has learned. So Emily, why don't you just tell us, somebody asked you what?
Thank you, Hill. That was a very sweet intro. And we do go back forever ago. It feels like there's so many of my memories are tied to Hillary, and they're very joyful memories. Some of them are hard memories. And I think that's part of what has made you and I as close as we are. And I think this young teacher that came to me and she said, what advice do you have? Not classroom management, not how do I teach this subject, just in general. What is some advice that you have for a new teacher going in? And it's because I had taught her. It's because she had been one of mine. And she was like, I just want to hear, tell me how to do what you do or what I did, because I don't teach anymore. And so that's where it came from.
Wow. Well, I've literally read this over 6 times already. And I would love for you just to, start with the top 3 of what your 3 top tips are. You can start at the top of the list, no problem.
Oh, what would be my top 3 out of the ones that I posted, or
Your
just the
choice.
first 3 that were on the list?
Let's keep it simple. First 3 on the list.
Okay. Well, the first one that I told her was, work your hours, leave stuff undone. And I think this is true for any job, work the hours they pay you to work, leave stuff undone, go home. Just, there's no trophies for showing up first, for leaving last, or for working the hardest. And it's just, do your job, do it well. But when it's time to clock out, clock out. And I can think of very few professions where people donate their time to the big organizations, but it happens a lot in the service industry. It happens a lot in any profession that serves people, be it nursing or doctors, but especially teachers. And so along those lines, I just kind of said, same goes for the calendar. Don't work extra days. Don't complain about how short your summer is and then make it shorter on your own is kind of my advice there,
Oh, that was a different way than how you had worded it, but I love that.
Yes, because I am a firm believer in you don't complain about anything you're not willing to proactively change, and to try to affect good change, in those areas. And so don't complain if you're not willing to change it, and definitely don't complain if you're part of what's making it hard. So, yeah.
That's really good. So you had specifically said, I'll just read it off of, hey, if the first workday is August 15th, go to work on August 15th. Don't find those several days before to get ahead, in quotes, no matter how far ahead you are. 1 hour after the kids arrive, you will be behind.
And it's so true. It is so true. I mean, I can remember on day 2 walking and with the teacher next to me, when did we get behind? I don't know. Maybe it was August 14th because we didn't come early. And then we both realized, no, it's just, you're going to be behind. Somebody's going to demand too much and you're going to try to give it, is what that boils down to.
Well, that just sounds like healthy boundaries, but sometimes we don't learn that wisdom until we're on the other side, right?
I agree.
Well, this next one is one of my favorites, Emily. It's all about relationship.
Everything is, isn't it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, relationship preceding learning. And this kind of goes back to how long you and I have known each other. Because through the challenges and through the celebrations, that's what binds people. And it's developing that relationship. It's showing a lot of grace and being really, really grateful.
Absolutely. And I think, there's 2 adages that most really good teachers out there will tell you. And one of them is relationship precedes learning. And then the second one is they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I think that's true with anything. If you're going to offer someone advice, they really don't care what you have to say if they don't think you care about them, because it's not hitting the mark.
I so agree. And whether you're a professional, whether you're a parent, whether you're a spouse, it's really, really caring that matters. I love how you said, hey, relationship precedes learning is not just a catchphrase. It's the way to make a difference. Be intentional, be kind, and be empathetic.
Absolutely. And I think any good relationship is going to have all of that. And one of the things that I had to, I knew it professionally, and then I had to step back and have somebody in a different setting talk about how your home and your workplace, they're 2 different places, but the way you're speaking to someone in your home, is that how you'd speak to someone at work? And if the answer was no, it was fix how you're speaking to the people at home, fix how you're speaking to yourself, and it was all of these things that intuitively came just very naturally to me in the classroom for someone to say, no, home gets that too. It's like what you're saying is that all of this is just, it's good, both places. And you have to kind of move it, I don't know, transfer it.
Yeah, absolutely. So often we're far more kind to people outside of our home. And while our comfort zone people of our family or our very close friends, sometimes they see the worst of us and we think, oh, well, they're our safe people, but they
Right.
also deserve our respect and our kindness, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
On that, I should apologize for being late for lunch in the spring. So I just wanted to get that out there. We'll talk about that another time. Well, this next one is with the smiley face on there. I'm going to go ahead and share the next one.
When you hear another teacher talk about loving their job, lean in. This is someone whose brain you need to pick. And I think that's true with any profession. I'm very protective of my profession. I don't just love being an educator, I'm very protective of it. And I want new teachers, old teachers, veteran teachers. I think we all should constantly be striving to become better. And who better for us to talk to than the people who love their jobs and are making a difference? One of my favorites was actually Colonel Hales. Okay, he was an ROTC teacher, retired colonel from the Army, and Colonel Hales was wonderful about how if their behavior wasn't where it should be, you could go to Colonel Hales and say, hey, will you help me with this? If it was one of the ROTC cadets. And I was talking to him one day and we had the student and the student was just pushing back and he was being belligerent and he walked away and I was and Colonel Hales just looked at me, he's like, don't you just love this job? And I was like, I do. I wasn't thinking that right. So he's like, we get to dig in and make a difference. And I was just like, in that moment, he was expressing the joy, this guy that had done all sorts of military, campaigns and was here in the classroom and he was one that you should lean in and listen to him because he just made every day feel like it should. So
that is fantastic. Well, and kind of on the other side. So, we need to lean into those people that are joyful and attracting us to them to want to be better. And you've got something on the other end of the spectrum.
Yes. Walk away from the teachers who live to complain. Not just they complain once in a while. They seem to be looking for it. Their days will become yours. And everyone needs to vent once in a while. We're not going to take that away, but constant negativity is poisonous. And there are teachers that seem to revel in the mistakes of others or the mistakes of the kids. That's what's bringing them the joy. And it's like, no, move away from that. And again, I've worked outside of, the classroom, and I think that's true with friends. I think it can be true at church. I think it can be true everywhere. The people that are joyful in what they're doing, lean into that. And the ones that are just, listen to them for a second, about that sounds hard, and then walk away.
That is great wisdom. And a little bit like shining some light, I notice like on me, like I've definitely become more aware that when I'm stuck talking about the same subject, whether it sounds like I'm complaining or not, it's like, well, Hillary, you going to do something about it? Or just stop talking about it. Come on.
Right.
I love it though.
Absolutely.
Well, I think, let's see, I was going to skip down to, because I think this connects with it. Every once in a while, think to yourself, am I the teacher I would want my child to have today? And adjust accordingly.
Absolutely.
Wow. Be the teacher you want your child to have, or be the person that someone would want to come to.
Wow. And this one, of course, this post and everything was to a young teacher, but I was talking to a young married, she was a new spouse, and I asked her, that same question, but I framed it in every once in a while, ask yourself, would I want to be married to me? And if not, you don't ask it every hour or but every once in a while, you need to ask it. And and adjust, because if you're asking more of your spouse than you're willing to give or be, there's going to be some issues. There's going to be some problems.
Yeah.
And if I'm not the teacher I want my kids to have, then at the end of the day, I think there will be a disconnect. There will be discord. It just, as I'm reflecting, I won't be able to sit happy.
Well, I love that. And I'm sorry for skipping. So I'll pop back
You're
up
fine.
to the heart one. So whether it's a principal or a boss, I love what you said about this. Can you share that one?
Sure. Listen when a parent talks. Is that the one you're talking about? Or are you talking about the one up? No, you're talking about the principal one. Okay.
Oh, there were two hearts. You're right. That was my mistake.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. If a principal talks about wanting parents to put their kids first, hold them to it. Don't let a double standard exist, resulting in your being present for every kid but your own. And I think that's really important, because we do talk about everybody else out there, don't they? Oh, well, he should take time off work and go to parent conference, or well, she should take off work and go chaperone that field trip, or oh my goodness, they're not here for their child's basketball game. There's all sorts of, we like to bite at each other, but especially again in a service profession where we spend a lot of time with somebody else's kids or other people's people. To know that we have to find the time for our own, and we have to tell our bosses, no, this is important. I need to model it. And I just need to do it. My kids are going to have to, I used to tell my two, Morgan and Woody, that there was one job I was not willing to fail at, and that was being their mom. That I might quit a job, or I might get fired from a job, or, but that was, and they knew that came after being their dad's wife, but it was, I wasn't born to be their friend, and I was not going to fail at being their mom. And I think that just goes along with it. And any job you have, just priorities.
It is. Our actions need to meet and match those priorities, right? Living them. Oh, wow. That was so good. That was so good. It's a hard line. Sometimes we get these extra kudos from our colleagues or our bosses, and our kids aren't necessarily saying, wow, you're the best mom ever every day, right? Hopefully on Mother's Day. But it's so important that they need to feel like they're number one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when they don't see it, years later, they will remember it. And even if they don't say anything, they're going to see something that hits them wrong, that somebody done, they're like, oh, that hits me wrong because that didn't happen to me. And I want this other person to have the life I had. I want this other person to have the support that I had. And they will realize it. They will. Some of, and they may come back and say something. It's kind of nice when they do. When they all grown up and they're like, wow, that was hard. It was like, yeah, it was hard. Thank you for noticing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, children don't recognize it until they're either the age you were, or their kids are the age that they were. And they're like, oh, how did you do that? I've apologized a lot to my mom, who also listens to the podcast. So she knows. Well, what I like, piggybacking on the back of that, is your next one that is about kind of a fresh start. Can you share that one?
Start each day with a clean slate. The kids will make mistakes, and so will you. Allow grace and mercy to flow freely for everyone in your classroom. And that's important, that it's everyone, not just the kids, that you're coming in on a clean slate and you're forgiving them for whatever happened yesterday, but yourself as well. I remember walking into an Algebra 2 classroom because the day before when I was teaching, I noticed something. I was like, oh, my brain said, oh, I bet that's a shortcut. And so I taught it to them. Having not verified, I taught it to them as, okay, here's a quick shortcut. And they all went home. And on my drive home, I was like, mathematically, that wasn't sound. And I got home and I tried it on a bunch and I was like, that doesn't work. And so I had to start the class the next day with, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Please don't doubt all of my instruction from here on in. But I had to acknowledge it. I had to ask for, some grace and mercy from them. And I had to allow it to myself, because it was a very humbling experience. And those are, God will humble you quickly when pride sneaks in. And I think we have to acknowledge those humbling moments, not shy away from them, not push them away, but embrace them and learn from them. And then, I can't be perfect because I'm not supposed to be. And that's good. That's good.
I think that actually makes having a relationship easier when people get to see us as fallible and imperfect.
I think so.
I think that is helpful. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And I think it is. I agree. It's harder to give ourselves grace sometimes than to give other people. Sometimes I
Right.
think if only we had eyeballs out there that we could look at ourselves with a different perspective, like kind of like an alien. But we're human, and maybe that's the reminder of that we're
Right.
not supposed to be
Right.
perfect.
No.
Well, I love the next heart that you've got below.
Listen when a parent talks and thank them for being their kid's advocate, even if they are attacking you. And that is hard when someone comes in stomping and they're angry and they let you have it with both barrels. If they're wrong, if I get defensive immediately, they're not going to feel that they're wrong. They're just going to feel my pushback. And so thanking them, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for coming to talk about Hillary. It sounds like we have a miscommunication, but I love that you are her advocate, because every kid's best and most formidable advocate should be their parent. And so you need to acknowledge that, I think. And I think that's true in other avenues as well, that when somebody comes at you angry, it's because they care deeply about something. You don't get angry about things you don't care about. And so to try to see past the anger to what they care about, that's your commonality. That's where you're finding the common ground. And that's where you can diffuse the anger. And if you did do something wrong, you can acknowledge it. If they have misinterpreted something, if you've diffused it a little bit, it's easier for them to acknowledge that there was a misunderstanding. So,
oh, wow. That was deep on so many levels, because I think so many people think that person's angry, I need to protect myself or be defensive or offensive. But
absolutely.
I love your shift of, if you can see that they're passionate and they deeply care and they love their child so much that they are willing to give up their time, to make time to set aside, to show up, to have a FaceTime with a teacher.
Absolutely.
It's just really, really important for sure. Let's see. All right. This next one, it's really cute because you did emojis with each of these.
I did.
And maybe I'll do them in the show notes, but yeah, it's kind of the hiding, shying away, one eye covered.
Yes. If you have to change your teaching because an administrator walked in the room to observe you, you need to change your teaching. And that's like life, isn't it? My 14-year-old son and I were at a fish fry that he was going to be coming to high school, and it was the football team, and one of the other teachers happened to be there, and she covered up her son's ears as she said something. And when we were in the car on the way home, Woody asked me if she needs to cover up her son's ears when she says something, should she be saying it? And it's like, okay, so this is, if you have to change your behavior because someone significant walks in the room, or because then you need to change your behavior. It's just, it's like, it's just not there's not, you've lacked authenticity if you have to hide things.
Now, I just want to point out a little something that I notice in you, that you have lived all of this. You have lived. I mean, we've learned, we've grown, we've had growing pains for sure. And we've watched each other grow up. And I think you've matured faster than I have. I'm just going to compliment you.
I'm old. I'm 4 days younger, but I'm way older.
We are 4 days apart. Yeah. But it's been amazing and such a privilege to watch you not only grow as a parent and as a spouse and as a baba, that's your grandma name, but certainly I didn't get to see you in the classroom, but since I know you and your character, I know that you've lived all of these. So
Right.
this is coming not from a high place of that you do this to be like me. It's kind of the, hey, here's the trenches that I walked through, and these are all the lessons I learned out of it. So I'm really grateful for you sharing.
Oh, thank you. And absolutely, because those trenches require missteps and footfalls and, rolling down in the mud and just getting all dirty and just a lot of learning in these almost 53 years, right? And so it's all, yeah. It's, I'm hoping I'm still a work in progress. I hope I'm still learning.
We
I
are.
hope.
I see it. I still see you learning and growing.
Okay, good.
And I
Good.
love it. And we do turn 53 in August. Yeah, for
We
sure.
do. Not that long. Yeah.
Well, I love this part because the sunglasses emoji is one of my favorites.
If you want kids to respect you, be respectable. See the above bullet as one of the quickest ways to lose their respect. And kids will talk about if teacher A was being observed today and, oh my gosh, Miss Parrish, she stopped doing what she was doing and became a completely different person. And so that is something the kids will tell on you if you behave differently when there's somebody else in the room. And that's where you know that they're not going to respect you if you want to be their friend. You can be friendly, but there's difference between being friendly and being familiar. Being friendly and being their best buddy. There's a difference. And I think if you want anyone to respect you, be respectable. So,
I love it. I love it. Well, we have only 3 left. And let's see. Oh, this is a really important one, especially for, whether you're a teacher with your boss and your administrator, or you're an employee. This is really good.
you may not agree with every rule the administration has put in place, but you do need to abide by them. If you want them to back you, you need to back them. I think that's just kind of any job, like you're saying. If you don't have to agree with every rule, but if you took the job, you need to abide by them. I mean, it's just kind of it. It does lead back, or not lead back, flow back into the other one. You're not respectable if you say, this is my job and this is what we do, but I'm going to not do these certain things that are required of me, or I'm going to push past these boundaries, or it's just be respectable in that too.
I am a boundary pusher. I feel like I should go back and apologize to every boss I've ever had. Maybe that's why I'm an entrepreneur now.
There you go. There you go.
Well, for the hard days, this next one is essential.
Never throw away a positive note from a parent or a kid. Keep these and pull them out on a rough day. There will be rough days. And I think that can apply for anything. If you get a positive note, positive Christmas card, a birthday card, have what Scott and I both have, what we call our gummy boxes. And that's because in these boxes are not just notes or cards, but they're the silly things that our kids made for us along the way that maybe with the heat, they've become a little gummy. And so there are gummy boxes because literally they're somewhat gummy because they've been in attics or so many moves. And I think you have to keep those because there will be lonely days. There will be hard days. There will be days that you want to walk away from it all. And if you can have your own lifeline already in place, and this can be one of them. It's kind of a life preserver that you throw yourself ahead of time. It's like you're throwing it to your future self to say, here, grab this and get your way back to shore and you'll be okay. I think we have to learn to do that. We evolve into that. Like I told my daughter the other day, I've evolved into my superpowers. My superpowers are both organizing and flexibility. My husband's career has forced me to become a very flexible person, but I'm still. You need a party done? Give me a holler. I can organize it and have everything laid out and what needs to happen when. And Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So great. All right. Ready for the last one. Oh,
And the last one's the most important one, because going back with relationships, it just says love, not just the high flyers, the ones who make you laugh, those who are easy to love. Love the quiet ones, the loud ones, the irritating ones, and the angry ones as well. And if you feel like there's one you can't love, pray God shows you how. Pray this daily until He reveals the way. I promise He will.
oh.
And He does. One of my most favorite students ever, the first day I had him, I thought, one of us is going to die by the end of the semester. And if one of us doesn't die, then we're both just going to quit school, because it was just that contentious. And the next day I found myself driving to school, just dreading seeing this kid second period, just dreading it. And then about a week into it, of just first period was ruined because I was dreading this kid's second period. And then the next period was ruined because I had just had him. I just started praying about it. And I didn't just pray, God help me through this. I decided I love all of my students. I love all people. I think love is just the greatest thing we've ever been given. And so God, teach me how to love this kid. And it didn't happen overnight, but He did teach me. And I do love that kid now. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. What a great bit of wisdom. My takeaways are leave some stuff undone.
Mm-hmm.
Relationship precedes the learning. And before someone will listen to you and respect you, build the relationship. When somebody loves what they do, lean in and listen to those experiences so that you can avoid the negative and poisonous complainers. Show up for your child and your spouse and yourself because you matter. Emily Parrish, what a gift you are. I've never gotten to interview you like this, and I've loved all of it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Hillary.
Any final thoughts?
Just be good people. It's not hard.
Sometimes
I
it
don't
is.
do it. I don't do it great every day, but by golly, it's the goal every morning.
That's right. Fresh start. Thank
That's
you
right.
so much.
Thank you. Love you dearly.
Do you know the difference between people who want to make something happen and those who make it happen? It's taking that step of action. It's a verb. It's moving forward. And that's what I want you to do today. I would love for you to join our mailing list. And you can go to the website at womensmidlifenetwork.com, or you can shoot me an email at hillary@communitybloom.org. Reach out. Let's make this happen. Let's make it happen together. Well, I'm so grateful for you all listening. And I wonder, of all this advice and wisdom, what was your favorite? Is there a place you might be more gentle or empathetic or self-compassionate, whether it's in your work as an educator, as a person, as a spouse, as a parent? As a midlife woman, I think these pearls apply to us too. Maybe relationship precedes learning with us as well. It's a way to make a difference in someone's life. If you hear someone loving their life, lean in and listen to them. If, on the other hand, you see someone who's just complaining a lot, you might want to give them a little more space, right? Are you going to work your hours or extra hours? Could you leave stuff undone? Let's think about those things. I hope we can all start each day with a clean slate. And thank people who are advocates for us and for those we love. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for listening. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you being an essential part of the Women's Midlife Network. We're connecting women. We're sharing stories and inspiring change. And not just for now, but for decades to come. I am so thankful for you, and I always hope you feel the love. Until next time, this is Hillary Baggett with Hill Talks Podcast. Let's move forward in midlife.